We can do it. Yes, we can. We can change things throughout the land. But we all must lend a hand. We can do it. Oh, yes, we can. Oh, your neighbor over there.
Hi, I'm Linda Weltner. On a day where it's so hot out, we've had 3 days of above 90-degree weather brought to us partially by courtesy of the coal industry and other polluting industries that are pouring more carbon dioxide into the air. We're going to be talking about the Salem Power Plant and the space there and what is going to be happening. And we're talking with Jan Schlichtmann, who is trying to bring about a future vision of what can replace the coal-burning Dominion, which already has several charges against it, right? It was not...
Well, it has, the plant is, they've announced it is going to retire in June of 2014, that it was not, obviously not profitable anymore to run with its need to be upgraded if it was going to remain a coal plant. So that's leaving, which makes the community faced with the moment of decision this year, moment of decision, what's going to go on that site, what's going to be the reuse that is going to, and whatever reuse we agree on is going to be with us for another 100 years.
But they did not have a clean record while they were here. They had that explosion and some people were killed, and then it turned out they had not been cleaning the plant and caring for it the way they should have, correct?
Well, you know, the coal plant, you know, is a dog with a lot of fleas, and all of these problems you know, have accumulated together to make it just not profitable anymore for anyone to maintain that use of the site as a generation plant for based on coal. Now, there's still people who wish to put a gas-fired plant on there, and Footprint is now in negotiations, but there's not a lot of public discussion about what exactly is going to go there and when. The whole industry is going through that kind of evolution in thinking, and a lot of these coal plants are going offline. And communities all over the country, including Salem, have to now decide for these sites that were used for the past 100 years as coal burners and oil burners, what are we now going to do with that site? And so Salem is now facing what many other communities around the country are facing. What do we do with that? Now, right now, all we know is that Footprint, this New Jersey startup company, is in negotiations with Dominion, and we're told from various sources that an announcement is near imminent about some sort of a deal about the reuse of that property. And the Footprint's plans, clearly expressed publicly, are to put a gas-fired plant on there. What is not being discussed is a full analysis and understanding of the complete use that could be made of that site if, in fact, a gas-fired plant is put there, because gas plants only need 10 to 15 acres tops for space, and we have a 62-acre site, so we have a lot of space there to deal with. And of course, it's Salem's precious connection to the sea. It's its outer harbor connection to the sea.
One of the things I've noticed in Lynn is that that whole line along the Linway, is it, that it's dead, right? That you can't get to it and there's nothing happening on it good. How important is having your shoreline connected to your city?
Too often we forget how important and vital our connection to the sea is. I mean, first of all, this is the most, many of us consider, all of us who live here consider... And
you live in Beverly, right?
I live in Beverly.
Right.
And we all share this harbor, and we all consider it to be the most beautiful harbor in the world.
And it's Marblehead's harbor, too.
It's Marblehead.
I mean, we can't say that's Salem because we're all on the harbor.
The harbor is what unites us as communities. From Gloucester all the way down through Salem and Marblehead, this is our precious harbor resource.
One and only.
One and only, exactly right. And it's beautiful, beautiful. But it also has enriched us. You know, think about it now. It stamps Marblehead. It's Marblehead's character.
Right.
And Marblehead itself is considered, its home port is considered to be one of the most beautiful harbors in the world.
We are who we are because of our harbors.
Absolutely. And Salem, of course, millions of people come to Salem. Its rich architecture, its culture, its history, all came from what? The connection of Salem to the sea. Because Salem used the sea as a place to become as a roadway to become a maritime power.
Right.
And all of that architectural and historical and cultural jewel was all because of its connection to the sea.
Absolutely.
Now, what happened in too many places is when the in the 17th and the 18th and the 19th centuries, people were much closer to their environment. But then we got really good at things, and in the 20th century, we began to feel a little more freer, disconnected from our natural environment, and less dependent on it. Very clever. So what happened in Salem, as it happened in many other communities, we industrialized our waterfront, not for marine industrial uses, but for other uses that prevented the community from having its connection to the sea. So in our case, because coal was put there, we said, as a community, we said, well, okay, why don't we put a coal plant there, since the coal is being delivered there, and we'll take up these 60 acres of this premier harborfront connection, and we'll turn it over to a place where we generate electricity.
And you can't go on that land, can you?
No, of course not. No, it's got a fence all around
it. It's private,
That's
right.
Yeah, when you go over to Blaney Street, that's where it stops. There's just a fence meeting you, and a barrier. Of course, it's just an industrial zone with a lot of oiled tanks and other kinds of tanks. They're rotting and rusting away.
Coal pile you can see from the
And the coal
harbor.
pile and its pond, runoff pond, and then you have the chute, and then you have, of course, the huge structures. That operation is going to end in June of 2014 because Dominion has made the judgment that it's just not economically feasible to run it anymore. It's not profitable, and they're going to leave. That is the community's opportunity to rethink this potential connection to the sea, and whether we're going to reconnect, use it to reconnect, or whether we're going to leave it to others to decide in darkness our future.
Well, let me just say a bad word about Dominion and PG&E, because I was part of HealthLink that was working to bring down that plant. And the question was, which is more important, the health of Salem people and the statistics for asthma and heart attacks and all kinds of things were very elevated because of the soot from both of them. And the question is, which is more important, your bottom line or the health of Salem? And there's no question that in both cases, Dominion and PGE decided on the bottom line. They wouldn't cover the coal pile even to keep the soot, which would have been just a few $100,000, because they didn't want to give in that first inch for fear that we would be overly excited and think maybe we could accomplish something. And they preferred to leave rather than to spend any money in ameliorating the negative health effects.
The point you're bringing up is kind of an interesting one, is how we use that site will very much determine, it's a statement about how we think about ourselves and our community, and if we have a use there which is causing friction, which is causing all sorts of different problems in the community, on a health standpoint, on an environmental standpoint, on an economic standpoint. All of those things, it ripples through the community and it drives us apart. And it's not the highest and best use of the property. Wouldn't it be wonderful to imagine a use of that property, whether it's used for energy or for anything else? Wouldn't it be nice to imagine a use that brings us together, that doesn't make us feel bad about who and what we are, but it makes us feel good and proud of who and what we are, that actually physically brings us together and emotionally and culturally brings us together as it connects us to the sea? That's what we need to think of that site. Now, those communities that do that, think of Boston. Think of Boston in the 1950s when I used to go there with my father, and it was rats as big as Volkswagens, and it was darkness and disconnection, an elevated highway, and no reason to go there. Day or night, you would fear for your life and safety. No good. Boston dying by its disconnection. And some folks got together and they said, why don't we put the first of a kind big, huge glass bowl here and fill it with fish? And they did. And all of a sudden, the lights went on, and people began to imagine things. And then they opened up Quincy Market, those beautiful historic buildings, and they turned it into Quincy Market, the most commercially trafficked area in the world. It became a model for other cities, Renaissance, Baltimore, New York. You could go on and on about the cities in Japan, all over the world, taking their lesson from what Boston did. And now the elevated highway, of course, came down, completing the city's connection to the sea. Think of the Renaissance that took place in Boston, because it did what? It understood the vital connection and importance of its connection to the sea, and it took action, brought everybody together, and it takes a lot of people, and did it. And those communities that do it, have a renaissance, are the better for it. And those who do not, or can't figure out how, or don't even want to try, are communities that we have too many examples of, are, as you say, dead places. Places in which the city is disconnected, and they are dying economically, and culturally, and emotionally, and spiritually. And when we connect, we get renewed by the sea. That's our life source.
Now, I've seen the pictures in the Marblehead paper of people walking along a boardwalk and everything. Is that a feasible?
Today's paper just announced that there was a grant that the city worked very hard to get, and the city leadership should certainly be praised for taking this as a, and I know, I'm talking to them, this is the prime directive. This is what they wish to do, is to reconnect to the sea. They now have a grant to open up that whole Blaney Street wharf area and to begin that connection process. But vital to that very important step is, what do we do with the land on the other side of that fence? We cannot just accept the fact that having a fence, okay, and an industrial wasteland with no plans and no plans to get plans is not good for us. Now, I know the city officials and state and local officials, they all get it. They all understand we need to work together on this. But it's important for all of us, all of the members of the community, to understand it's all of our responsibilities. You know, like all the who's in Whoville, all got to give a yup.
Right.
Because if they do, all things are possible. But if they don't, if we just fight each other, we default to this, you know, who said what to whom and who's doing what and all of this, you know, reasons for not to work together, it ain't going to get done.
All right. So you have come up with a project that you want to put there, right?
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, basically, and you say, I want to say not my project, okay? Because this, if it's just my project or my idea, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
And there's lots of good ideas. I've been sharing with others thoughts, and these thoughts were also shared with me. So I can't say that I woke up one morning and came up with it. No, it was that wonderful thing where brains came together. You know, creative folks came together and came up with a wondrous idea of how to connect to the sea. And they took it from the regulations, which said there must be a marine industrial water-dependent use. But we know it should, no one can think of what that would be, because our models are all 20th century. We think of a marine industrial or water-dependent use as fisheries. Well, fisheries is not going to fit in the history of that site. Salem gave up fisheries a couple of centuries ago and went to maritime trade. Well, maritime trade's not going to go there because it doesn't work now, the present economics. So it's not going to be those things. Those models don't work. People talk about alternative energy, perhaps a wind farm, solar farm, but the Jacob study, this very fine study that the state funded and the city worked with to get, went through all the possible uses. Well, the problem with alternative energy is it has a big footprint, and there's just not enough space there to make it economically or technologically feasible.
So tell us now. We've built up to anticipation.
Exactly. So let us think about, we took our lessons from the past. When we came here, we enriched ourselves when we fished it. And then we traded on it. And then we decided, we made this fateful decision to get our energy by its shore. And now we say it's time to learn from it, that the sea has unbelievable things to teach us. Aquatic ecosystems take up 80% of our world. And the secrets of that world will enrich us. They will create medicines. They will drugs that will make us live and feel and have a more vital life experience. They can give us principles for materials, industrial processes. There are things that the sea and its critters have been working on for a few billion years.
And maybe we can learn how to save it, because the oceans are dying. That everybody knows.
And we have to. We need to determine what, not only what it can do for us, but what we are doing to it, because we need to keep its vitalness. I'll give you one example. The little story of Lilamus polyphemus. That's a horseshoe crab.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And it's an interesting little critter.
We have them right on the bridge between Marblehead and Salem.
That's right.
Right under
there. They
have
been around for 500 million years. They are the oldest living vertebrate in the world. Now, they have also survived not one, not two, but 5 life extinction events. Now, one would have been a major accomplishment, but these critters have survived 5 of them. Now, they have a story to tell, and they have some secrets to their survival. And in fact, science is tapping them. And now there are places, a few, that have been, with the horseshoe crab's permission, have actually been taking their blood, and it's a blue blood. It has cyanotic elements to it, and there's a $50 million industry because many scientists believe it has the abilities to fight disease and cure cancer.
And the crabs don't die.
And they don't die.
It's like drawing blood from a person.
They give them a cookie and some orange juice. They wait 20 minutes, and back to the sea they go, so they can come back and give their life-giving properties.
You're not going to tell, I'm going to tell.
No, so
he wants to put a marine research facility, correct?
What I want to do is I want to create a research facility there that will allow us to tap the lessons of the sea and to be a research platform that will allow companies with all these great new ideas to have a place that has already been permitted, that has fresh and seawater coming in and going out, that will allow them to tap all of these important lessons and secrets of the sea
And
that will enrich
interact,
us.
because there would be more than one company.
That's
and
right.
They
Be
could,
an incubator for other companies. Exactly
right. So
right.
more, as you have that site, more
Right.
and more companies would come and do research, and their workers would live here, right? So what's
well,
the result of that?
Well, we have put together, now of course it has to be economically feasible to do.
Right, we
And
need tax base.
And the city needs taxes, generate taxes, of course. The people need public access, and we also need supportive commercial and residential and retail elements to support such a structure. Well, it has to be done in a way that would encourage capital investment to take a flyer on something that's never been done before. It takes support from the federal government, from the state government, from the local government, and the community, and of course the business community. It takes all of us figuring out the plan that works that will make this happen. If we did do this, this innovation center, this Biomarine Water Innovation Center, would be the first of its kind in the world. It would set the standard for others. Overnight, Salem would be the place in the world where such research will be done. And if Salem doesn't do it, some other community is going to do it. This is Salem's opportunity to do it. Now, we have put together the elements that could make this happen. And we need folks to sit down with us to make this happen. But
now, everyone's talking about job creation.
Yes.
Is this going to...
Our estimates are, the folks that we have brought into this thing and looked at it, our estimates are that 800 to 1,000 permanent, highly skilled jobs, and also jobs that are, along the whole scale, for people on every part of the spectrum. Sustaining, good-paying jobs that will give and transfer skills that are 21st century skills.
And there'll be construction also, right?
There'll certainly be construction and economic activity that will create more economic activity around the city and around the North Shore.
Well, they just sell 8,000 houses, right, for those people, or apartments for them to live in?
Well, they have all of those things. Look, when you have an economic engine at the core, then people come, and more people come, more things have to be there to take care of them, and then the city and the community grows, the whole North Shore will grow. Become an economic engine for the entire North Shore, not just for Salem.
That sounds good.
It sounds great and actually very exciting. And what's really exciting about it is every time we have shared this idea, and it's a sharing of an idea, which basically
You've met with the mayor.
We had a wonderful meeting with the mayor. The mayor opened her office up very generously for a whole bunch of folks to come. She was very generous with her time, and we went into great detail about how this could actually, not just the dream, but how we could make the dream a reality. And good, hard questions were asked, and we talked together as a group as to how we could solve them. What we need, however, is an open, honest, and forthright discussion with those who wish to buy the plant.
Okay, so let me just get a few things clear. What about remediating the site? Because it's polluted, right? There's all that coal residue, not only on the land, but under the water, and horrible.
Yes, this is very important. And what people's concern, one of the things we wanted to address with the mayor, is that people are concerned that the remediation may be a barrier to reuse of that site. And some figures that we're familiar with are like $75 million or more.
It's very expensive.
Exactly. But what we were there to show the mayor was, and we've been presenting this to other public officials as well, is that there is an industry that is built up with the transitioning of these sites from coal to reusable brownfields, because there's a lot of salvage value in those sites. These are, especially in Salem, these are overbuilt mid-20th century buildings that were over-engineered because of the technology at the time, and they are rich in metals, and those metals have a great value. The Jacobs study estimated that the salvage value could be 20 or 25 or $30 million, and our folks who've looked at it believe it may be substantially more than that. What does that mean? It means that there is more than sufficient funds available to remediate the site now, and to be able to develop it as a development platform now, not later, and to do it as a profit. And the company that has been working with our group, ARG, is willing to take some of those profits and work with others to seed the development of this dream. Now that is unique for someone to do that, but they are willing to do that, and that's what we were sharing with the mayor
So
And that
you
is
have
not-
a company that will do remediation and somehow make a profit, or it won't.
That's right. And more than that, work in partnership, business partnership with Brownfields Development and Capital Investment and our group of a merry band of men and women, very talented, who wish to create the dream and do all the things necessary to have that happen. They're willing to do that all together. Now, that'll be the first time that any such group of folks ever came together in that way, and we want to not only encourage it, we want that to actually take place. That means we all got to want this together. We got to talk about it together.
Okay, step number 2, you have marine research people who are interested
Absolutely.
in working here. It's a
Yes.
good site, right?
It's a great site, a fantastic site, right.
All right. You have a little thorn on your rose,
Yeah.
which is that Footprint is a gas company, right?
They're a young startup that are looking to this site as their first site to transition it to a gas-fired plant. That's their business plan, yes.
And I know HealthLink is holding back from endorsing. They're having a meeting in June. They had a meeting in June to investigate, is Footprint playing fair and square with what they're saying and what they're not saying? And I understand they've been having secret meetings.
Well, this is what is bothering me as a citizen on the harbor here, and as somebody who's an activist and
Who has
cares
a
about these
dream?
issues. And I
Let's say
also
who
have
has a dream,
and I
right.
most definitely have a dream, and I see what we could do together. What pains me is that since the Jacob study has come out, we are not engaging in the public discussion. What is happening is, once the Jacob study came out in January of 2012, there's been no public discussion, and we've kind of defaulted as a community to there are secret discussions going on between Dominion and Footprint, which we are not privy to, and there's no real outreach or connection. And so decisions are going to be made that really are not involving us in the discussion, which they should. And that's what I think is wrong, and I think it's causing problems in our community and preventing us from bringing folks together to do the things necessary so we can take full use of the site, even if it's a gas plant, if that's the decision to make a gas plant. That's what we're missing out on.
So Dominion, which didn't give a damn about the health of Salem residents, is privately, let's say, instead of using the word secretly, privately making a deal with Footprint without citizen or other
Dominion
input.
and Footprint are acting like businessmen often do, which is, look, let's go do our business deal privately, which I don't fault them for that. But in a space, when we're talking about a space like this, which
that
is
has
so
been
vital,
highly controversial.
Highly controversial.
It's not just like putting a Macy's downtown.
Absolutely, absolutely, and on a premier harborfront property, which is vital to the whole region's economic, cultural, and historical development. That is something which the business folks should understand. Yes, you can have your private business deals, of course, but you must, consistent with that, and at the same time, involve the community in the discussion so that mistakes are not made, so that decisions are made with a level of transparency that allows for the best ideas to rise to the top and the bad ones to go to the bottom.
And what you're saying is this is not just a site for profit.
Right.
This is a site for enriching Salem's historical footprint.
And Marblehead and my own home city of Beverly,
right.
the whole
And the
North
whole
Shore community.
harbor.
Absolutely, yes. And that's what we're missing out on. And I'm hoping that the community will say, look, raise their voice, be the who's in Whoville, and make a little yop to say, hey, we want in on the discussion. This involves all of us. We want to all profit in every level of that word.
Footprint doesn't want these other groups, this marine thing, impinging on its control of this land.
Well,
Is that true?
Well, here's what I can say, all right? We have gone to many folks, and they've all been open and excited. And we are getting barriers in talking to Footprint, and I think they are barriers which are unnecessary and I think destructive. And I want that to change as a citizen and as an activist, and I'm hoping others will want it to change. And if we all want it to change, maybe Footprint will get the message and change.
Good luck to you. Having worked with PG&E, I don't really think these companies get the message from the little ants who are the activists. But I want to say this, they have no stake in Salem. Is Footprint from somewhere out of state?
New Jersey.
I have heard that they're giving conflicting stories depending upon the audience, that they're not playing straight with the people whom they're talking to about their plans.
This is a necessary consequence of the approach that's being taken. We are not having an open, transparent, forthright, robust discussion involving all the important elements of our very active community. That's not taking place. That's unacceptable, and we need to tell people that's unacceptable. That's why we're getting what you just described.
And when Hemsleek has asked them questions directly, they're not getting straight answers, like about what is going to happen to the old plant and all kinds of questions. There's just, so far, there has been no reason to trust Footprint, which is not to say they're untrustworthy, but there is no reason to trust them.
Trust is something everyone has to earn. Trust and confidence comes from people treating each other with respect.
We miss out on this opportunity. The land is gone, just like Glover's Landing is gone as a beach for the people of Marblehead. Right. Just as we've made so many mistakes, and I don't know what happened in the election last night, but with that beautiful entryway to Marblehead from Salem, did we buy it or did we not? I don't know. But once you lose this, it's gone.
It's gone for a very long time.
And this is, how long is the shoreline in those 62 acres?
Well, it's 62 acres of prime shoreline. It is the most beautiful, it's the most premier harborfront in the entire North Shore.
And do you want to turn it over to a gas plant who is only interested, and I mean the practices of fracking, which is getting gas out of Pennsylvania and New York and places like that, has poisoned the water, they've paid off people, the gas industry, not to talk, just take the money and shut up about the fact that they can't drink their water anymore and that there are such horrible side effects from this fracking. Just like the coal, we looked into where did the coal come from for Dominion. Where's the gas come from? That's important too. Are we destroying not only destroying our waterfront, but destroying the rest of the country by piping this huge, horrible stuff out into the drinking water of the United States? So what can people do in one sentence?
They can call, they can come together, and they can demand open discussion. They can have meetings.
Call who?
They can call the city, their elected officials.
Call Kim Driscoll?
Of course, and also their own. All state, local, and federal officials have a stake here. And talk to them, how can we get together? How can we have a meeting? How can we have a public discussion? How can we get involved? They can do that. One phone call, one meeting will lead to more phone calls and more meetings.
And are you going to try and call a meeting?
Of course, absolutely. I have been, and I'm happy to go to any group that wishes to talk about these things and to present this shared vision.
Well, some of you don't know that Jan Schlichtmann is kind of famous from his case in, was it Woburn?
Woburn, Massachusetts.
Woburn, Massachusetts, and that he was played by John Travolta in the movie?
Yes.
Yes, so if you want a celebrity at your house, if you want to have a meeting, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Let's do something about this because it's our future, our air, our harbor, okay?
'Cause an idea, whose time has come, cannot be stopped by anyone. Plant your seeds in fertile ground. There ain't nothing gonna keep it down. Oh, we can do it. Yes, we can. We can change